Printing replacement or new custom cover art to improve the looks or usefulness of your game cases can be a rewarding project. But if you aren't knowledgeable and prepared for some of the common pitfalls, it can instead be an exercise in frustration. With that in mind, let me share some of the common sense tips and tools I've developed to help you bring a printing project to a successful conclusion. There are a lot of different reasons a game collector might want to take on a custom cover printing project. In my collection, I had discs that didn't originally come in a full case, and I wanted to correct that. Same if you buy loose disc games. Or maybe you are getting into alternative cases, like Universal game cases or Nintendo DS style cases for other handheld games. Discussing every different reason for custom cases and tips on where to get empty cases could be whole videos of their own. Let me know if that's something you'd like to see. The focus of this video will be specifically on cover art and printing procedure. I'll assume you have the right empty case and a custom case print project in mind. The next thing you'll need is the cover art image. If you are adept at image editing, you can build the art insert yourself. Back in 2001, this is how I made my first couple of covers. They are, shall I say, minimalist? My image editing skills were in their infancy, and I left a lot of blank areas to save on ink. But now, graphic designers have shared great system templates to build from, but the majority of us rely on sites like thecoverproject.net for any cover we need. I'll be using their site over the course of this video to update this rudimentary cover. Their giant community-built database has downloadable covers for a multitude of case types for many games. The gradual decline of physical media means there aren't many cover sites left, but you should also check out vgboxart.com, Reddit, or Google for a cover you are looking for. Even if you don't know much about image editing, you should familiarize yourself with some of the basic tools of an editing program. Most of the cover files that you'll find, specifically at the Cover Project, will be fairly standardized. They should already be at the right print size and usually at 300 dpi. These standards were settled on over time, so older covers weren't made to the same specs. This Devil May Cry 3 cover is sized correctly, but you can see the cover for the first game is too small. They should be the exact same size. It's best to check your download in an editor first to make sure it's at the right dimensions for its intended case, and resize it if it isn't. You can find the proper size information on the Cover Project forums, and I've linked there in the description. Speaking of these forums, they are the best place to request new covers, get printing and sizing help, or even seek advice for sourcing cases. This video can't be definitive, so don't overlook the guides and help resources of the Cover Project forums. They have years worth of accumulated knowledge that I couldn't hope to fit into one video. I will often adapt an already created cover to my liking. In this instance, I'm just adding playable demo text to the front cover and spine. If you are printing a replacement cover for a retail release, please do one thing for me. While you have it open in an editor, please mark somewhere that your cover is a reproduction. If you don't want to add obvious text, I've made a couple of mock UPCs that you can place over the original. And if you sell your game in the future, please don't misrepresent it as an original retail case. Only scumbag sellers do that. So now let's talk about the main problems when printing these covers. In the US, our standard letter size paper is 8.5 by 11 inches long. A DVD cover is 10.75 inches long. A 3DS cover is 10.787. A US DS cover is a tenth of an inch longer, and a Euro DS cover adds nearly another tenth of an inch at 10.963. And the cover art for a Universal game case is a whopping 11.22 inches. Are you starting to see the problem? My custom printing experience has been with DVD cases, so let's focus just on those for a minute. When I print a cover, I prefer to rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise in software and print in portrait mode. Unlike landscape, in portrait, there isn't any ambiguity about which part of the art gets printed first, and I don't have to think about it. It will print from the top down, so I'm assured that the full front cover will be completed, and only the last few lines on the back cover will be affected by the margin limits. I've not yet owned a printer that could print a full 10 3/4 inches on 11-inch paper. My current printer requires around a 1/3 inch margin at the end of the print, but a DVD cover only has a 1/4 inch to offer, and that's shared by each end of the paper. Towards the end of the printing, as it desperately tries to hold onto the paper and complete the print, it always clears the roller mechanisms before the last few lines are completed. So this gives me a very nearly, but not quite completed cover. This might drive a perfectionist crazy, but it doesn't particularly bother me. Sometimes I've had to settle for what I can make possible at the time. My focus is more on the overall collection than the last little bit of any one back cover anyway, and this incomplete artwork still serves its primary labeling purpose. Your printer may very well be different. Maybe your printer can do DVD covers without issue, but can it also do DS covers? It's important to learn your software, printer settings, and know what your printer is capable of. Towards the end of the video, we'll touch more on testing and experimenting to get the most out of your machine. If it's important to you to print your cover art completely, I've found ways to work around my printer's limits. One possibility is to print the cover in two parts. If you print the spine on both halves, you can overlap them, and this will help disguise the seam. I can trick my printer into thinking it's printing on longer, legal-size paper. I can offset and tape two pieces of paper together, set the printer settings to legal paper, and successfully fit the print on one sheet. But this is a terrible idea, and you should never do it. This is very likely to cause a paper jam or potentially damage the print head, and tape would be disastrous in a laser printer due to the high internal heat. Seriously, never do this. Instead, you could set your print options to shrink to fit. Your cover should print completely, but it will be a little less than full size. Your full cover will look great, but it won't quite fill all of the space in the case. Depending on your printer, it may not even be that noticeable of a difference, but things like your top or bottom spine logos won't line up with other games on your shelf. But these workarounds have all been compromises. Now let's move on to a few actual solutions. I found that my local print shop's machines can handle these DVD-sized covers with no issues. The print shop costs something like twice as much as printing at home on a page-per-page average, but it's still affordable and sometimes more convenient. Also remember, since you don't own the original cover art, this is technically a copyright violation, so I don't have to face any uncomfortable conflicts with the staff who would be correct to deny me. I choose to use the unsupervised self-service stations to print. Many people feel a laser print like this is more accurate to the mass-produced cover art, while others feel an inkjet print has better color reproduction. I find both to be satisfactory, so I will usually decide on a project-by-project basis. I previously mentioned legal paper. It's the same 8.5 inches wide, but it's 14 inches long. Is that a viable solution for home printing? I'll give that a tentative maybe. Legal paper is a bit less common than letter paper, therefore it's just a tad more expensive, and since legal paper is generally intended for documents, you could struggle to get pictures to turn out well on it. You see, if you care about the final print quality, you should really be looking for a higher quality paper than just cheaper copy paper. They might look the same, but a higher quality paper formulated for color ink or toner will produce a better image than a multi-purpose paper. On the subject of paper, cardstock will generally produce a higher print quality than copy paper, but cardstock is not a necessity. You'll also have to decide between matte or glossy. This is purely a personal judgment call. Typical matte paper is abundant and cheaper. A laser print will already add some luster, but in my opinion, once it's inside the case's plastic, the difference between matte and gloss is nil. But you can certainly choose a gloss or a photo paper, or a midpoint with a semi-gloss, luster, or satin finish paper. And if you search, you can probably find these options in legal size as well. But I have a different suggestion. Everyone outside the US and Canada is probably screaming at their screens right now because the rest of the world uses a different paper standard. Look into sourcing some A4 paper. A4 paper is similar in size to letter paper, but it's slightly more narrow, and importantly for printing these covers, it's longer at 11.69 inches. Nice. Because it's a standard size, you should find A4 among your computer's print options. I doubt the print shop could print anything longer than the DVD cover on letter paper, but with just this small amount of extra paper length, I can print any cover we talked about at home, even a universal game case cover. Every photo or gloss option is available in A4 size. While you might not find it at your local office supply store in most of North America, I was able to easily source some from Amazon. I didn't need to buy a whole ream, so I bought this small 20-pack and its glossy photo paper. This will work great as I only have a few more art inserts to print, but those will be in upcoming project videos. Be sure to subscribe to see what I'll be making next. I've also put Amazon links in the description for this and other A4 paper packs. Having sufficiently sized paper makes insert art printing a lot easier. Even so, there's still some prep work you should do before you immediately start printing. You'll need to be comfortable printing from the correct software. Using Windows Standard Print Dialog or printing from Paint is unreliable and gives you too little control of the result. I'll link to some free software you should consider, plus some of my tips for their use. You'll want to become acquainted with print previews, overriding default margins, and ensuring the intended print size is maintained. While you are learning the ins and outs of your system and printer, it's a good idea to make several test prints. To help here, I'm also linking to mostly blank cover templates for the most common game cases. Download the template for the type of case you are hoping to print and use it to test your printer and settings. Your goal is to get the entire outline to print on one page. To test to make sure the sizing hasn't been altered, I included a measuring mark. It's 6 centimeters from the target center to either the top or left edge, or you can check it with any standard sized media disc. If you align the disc with both edges, the spindle circle should match nearly exactly. If it doesn't line up, most likely your print settings reduce the size of your output. Even if you do 10 test prints, you've only wasted a few pieces of paper and about 1 text document's worth of ink. Earning this first-hand knowledge of your system will save you a lot of headaches later on. Once you are ready to move on and print your actual covers, there are a couple of final steps that could be easy to overlook. Your test printing should have gotten you familiar with selecting the right page layout and such, but to get the best possible results, don't forget to change your paper setting to match your paper type, and go ahead and increase your print quality setting. No one cares if your TPS reports are printed in draft, but if you've gone through all of this trouble, go ahead and bump it now to best quality. Once it's printed, you can try using a paper trimmer to cut nice straight lines. Those can be tough to cut precisely with, so you might instead use a metal ruler and razor or just a pair of scissors. Even after all of this preparation, your cover might still not be of the same quality as a typical retail cover. It's just tough to compete with precise machines worth tens of thousands of dollars. This is where I employ the adage, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Accept that what you made today is sufficient. You can always work towards improvement in the future. This is a topic that a lot of others have already covered, so I hope I brought something worthwhile to the discussion. Remember, I have more information that I couldn't fit in this video in the description links. If I missed an important tip that you'd like to share, please join in the discussions below. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Subscribe for more.